I want to preach tonight on the topic, That's Not My Name. How many of y'all remember that song? Let me see your hand. What? Yes! So you guys know to say, when I say, they call me Stacy. Yes, okay, that's so awesome. That's so awesome. Because I wasn't expecting you guys to know this song because I thought it was really old. I think it is really old. But if you haven't noticed, if you don't know this about me, I have a ridiculous name. My last name is Lamadou. Let's set the record straight. It is pronounced Lamadou. Now, over the course of my life, I have heard Lahamadou, Lamadeu, Lahamadeu. And this happens a lot. I'll be, well, it doesn't happen anymore, but when I was in school, I'd be sitting there, and the teacher would be taking roll, and they'd be like, John, and I'm like, I'm here. Okay, it's Lamadou. I'm here. One person called me Chamadou once, because sometimes my L's look like C's, so that's my fault. But you get used to it after a while, but normally, anybody else have a name that people mess up all the time? What do they call you, maybe? Miami. Miami's a pretty cool name. Keenan, Regan, Tabitha, yes. I am so sorry about that. I called John Keenan for like 6 months. What? Gilligan, yeah, I used to call Gillian whenever it's got you. How do they pronounce your name? Luz. What up, cuz? And so I get kind of used to it, but there's sometimes when people keep calling me the wrong name that I want to yell, that's not my name. You know, I love Starbucks, but Starbucks is the worst about this. And so I've got some pictures uploaded for you, and I want to show you some of the worst fails from Starbucks of people messing up. This is when Amy walked into a Starbucks. Let's go to the next one. Phoebe, they pronounce it Five-I. This is Penelope, but they pronounce it Penelope. Who is this? Rolla, but this was Laura, and they call her Rolla. Next one. This is Lois, and they called her Leaves. This is Patricia, and they call her Bachadna. Bachadna sounds like a disease that you want to avoid getting. This is Kyle, and they call him Gilo. This is Caitlin, they call her Kitten. This is, who is this? I'm trying to find it in my notes. This is Missile, but her real name is, what is it? Melissa, maybe? Something like that. I can't find it. Let's go to the next one. This is Bianca. They didn't do too bad on that one, Bianca. Okay, this is just lazy. Madeline. She's mad. I think her name's Lynn. Go next one. Aaron. Next one. Angry. This is, who is this? This was Ingrid. So not far off. Angry. Okay, now this one, her name is Emma. They're like, did you say Nemo? Oh, Emma. Nemo. Like, what is going through your mind? Starbucks. Next one. This is Barbara, but they said Barbara. Dealing is Dylan. Dylan. Okay, next one. Alien. Who is Alien? Oh my goodness. This is, who is it? Alan, yeah, that's right. Alan, and they call him Alien. Okay, now this one. Anne Louise. And they call her Anus. Okay. This is Andy, and they call him Auntie. Hey, Auntie. And this is Jeremy. I don't know how many of these we have left, but this is just, these are ridiculous. But I don't know about these people, but in my opinion, I want to say to them, that's I did, Revelation chapter 2, verse 17. Let's check out this scripture. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 17. Do you have that back there? Revelation chapter 2, verse 17 says, he who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna to eat. And I will give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name written, which no one knows except him who receives it. I want you to know tonight that God has given you a name. Tell the person next to you, say, God's given you a name. God is in the business of changing identities, of changing names. And I told you to say one thing. Now you're back here. You ready? Eyes locked in. He changed Jacob's name to Israel. He changed Abram's name to Abraham. From Saul to Paul. From Simon to, anyone know? Peter. And listen, God knew that he would need to be in the name-changing business because he knew that you and I would assign ourselves incorrect names. We'd assign ourselves incorrect identities. And tonight I want to challenge you on some of the things that I believe that we've named ourselves with that maybe we're not aware of. And so as I go through these, as I name the first one, the second one, and the third one, after I introduce them, I want you to say, that's not my name. Let's pull up number one. Strength. That's not my name. Listen, I said earlier that you're going to have to listen because this is not going to be a message where you're going to be like, yeah, I've noticed that in my life, because these are going to be some things that you say, man, I didn't know that was going on. Many times you and I look to our strengths to be our source. We look for our strength to be our source of joy. We look for our strengths to be our source of fulfillment and completion and peace and comfort and security. We often find ourselves saying, well, at least I'm good at fill in the blank. Like I do that if I'm terrible at something. Like if I'm playing basketball and I'm just wrecking it and I miss a layup, I'm like, at least I'm a good preacher. Like at least I have that. But here's the problem. Listen, it's not a problem to have strengths. Everybody has strengths. Everybody has weaknesses. But the reality is, if we allow our strengths to be our name, we allow whether life is going well or not to be determined by if our strengths shined in front of other people that day. We allow, if today's a good day, or this is a good month, or this is a good year, to be determined by, did people see what I'm good at? We use our strengths as a security net. Like, at least I'm funny. At least I'm pretty. At least I have style. At least I can speak well. At least I'm smart. Fill in the blank for you. What is it that you say, well, at least I'm good at this. At least I'm smart. At least I'm athletic. At least I got that going for me. I want you to let you know that when you do that, you're setting yourself up to self-destruct. Because what happens when people don't think you're funny? And you've called yourself, like your name is this strength, and you're like, I'm funny. That's what I have going for me, and I can make people laugh. What happens when people don't think you're funny? What happens when someone doesn't think you're pretty? What happens when people aren't impressed with your style? What happens if they're not impressed how smart you are? What happens when they're not impressed with what you identify your strength as? What happens when the college says, yeah, you're athletic, but not athletic enough? See, the problem is when we make our strengths our name and our strengths don't work out in front of other people, we find ourselves hopeless. You feel like a nobody. At least I'm popular. What's going to happen when you graduate and nobody cares at all that you were the quarterback or that you were the girl that all the guys wanted to be with? Guess what? Ain't going to happen, Captain. Tonight, I believe that there's going to be a shift, that we're not going to be naming ourselves with our strength, because strength, that is not my name. I believe that we're going to stop naming ourselves with our own strengths, our own abilities. We're going to start realizing that our name comes from heaven, as spoken in Revelation chapter 2 and verse 17. Listen, heaven says you're righteous. Heaven says you're holy. Heaven says you're complete. My name is not my strength, but the strength that Jesus showed on the cross. I'm going to need y'all to get in it tonight, all right? Just jump in the river. Dwell on me. That's an inside joke. We need to stop looking at what we can do and we need to start looking at the Word. Start looking at, I lose stuff all the time. Yeah, my wife said amen. If you know me very well, you know that I lose my keys all the time. All the time. Savannah has set up spare keys all throughout the universe. So that I find, in fact, I'm not sure where my keys are right now. I'm pretty sure they're lost. But anybody else really forgetful, lose things a lot? I lose things all the time. And I remember growing up and my mom would be like, if your head wasn't attached to you, you'd lose that too. Shut up. Don't tell your mom to shut up. That's bad. But I know, and I don't know if you, I'm kind of ashamed to admit this. Can I kind of share my shame with you guys? I'm ashamed to admit this, that there have been several times, I'm talking multiple times, where I'm looking for my keys throughout the house because I've got a problem. Like, my problem is if I don't find my keys, then I can't drive my car. If I can't drive my car, I can't leave my house. And so I'm looking everywhere for these keys, and I'm tearing up the cushions and looking under my bed and looking under, my mile-high pile of laundry, and I'm looking in old pants pockets, and I'm like, babe, wait. And I'm like, Kaylee, where are my keys? That's how I say it, like a preacher to her. I said, where are my keys? And there's been a couple times, I mean, I'm talking like 2 or 3 times, where she just smiles at me, and she points. And I look down, and I see my lanyard around my neck. Y'all ever been there? Like, how many times you've been like, where's my phone? Oh. For real, listen, the reason why I do that is because I get so busy focusing on the day-to-day things that I forget to look down. But you need to realize, and you need to understand, that you have access to the solution to your problem. You just haven't seen it because you've been looking in the wrong place. And so many times what we do is we're looking up and we're saying, someone's got to give me fulfillment for my strengths. And we're looking to our strengths to give us fulfillment and peace and joy and kindness and grace and make us feel happy, when in reality we just got to look down, wash some dust off of our Bibles, open up the Word of God and realize that He says He is enough. So when I say strength, you say, that's not my name. Your strengths are not your name. Are you ready for number 2? Number 2 is accomplishments. So when I say accomplishments, you say, they call me Stacy. They call me Hey Girl. Many have their identity wrapped up in their accomplishments as well. Like, if you don't feel fulfilled until a task is complete, you don't feel joy unless you conquered something. Until you do something that you're proud of, that you can say, I accomplished this. And you don't feel good until you accomplish something. Many are identified by their accomplishments, but by what they did. Was it successful? Did people see it? What about when you set your mind to do something and you fail? So encouraging. What about the times where you don't have accomplishments? See, when your name is accomplishment and you're identified by your accomplishments, you're setting yourself up to abort your dreams. I want to tell you why. Because your dream, your destiny is going to be accessed only when you fail and get up and fail and get up and fail and get up. That's what it is. And see, what many people do is they allow their accomplishments to be the encouragement that causes them to keep moving forward. But the problem with that is when you fail, you quit. So when I say accomplishments, you say, that's not my name. Maybe it's not about accomplishments, about something that you've done. Maybe it's about something that you have. We're in a social media generation where many people wouldn't admit it, but many people consider it an accomplishment to have a whole bunch of followers, to get a whole bunch of likes, retweets. But what happens when the likes dry up? Your eyes start watering. What happens when the retweets aren't there, you're depressed? What happens when someone unfollows you? No! Y'all got that unfollowers app. You know you do. And you go and check who it was, and you hunt them down, and you send a bag of poop to their front door. I don't know about you, but... Listen, many of you in this place, you don't feel good enough. You don't feel like you're accomplished. You don't feel like you're productive in society. It's because many of you have allowed accomplishments to be your name. Many of you have parents that put pressure on you to where if you don't perform, then you are not worth anything. If you don't get the straight A's, then you're not worth anything. Listen, I want to let you know accomplishments are not your name. If my name is in my accomplishments constantly, I'm going to be disappointed because I constantly fail. I don't know about y'all. If my name is in my accomplishments, then I'm going to be disappointed because I constantly fail. But if I put my name within His name, if my identity is in Him, guess what? He never fails. He never falls. He's never wavered. He's always faithful. He's constant. He doesn't lose. Listen, that's what Jesus is. So instead of putting your identity in our own inconsistencies, put your identity. Your name is in the forever faithful God. Can I be super transparent with you guys? Can I? Because I know I preach about this stuff, and I talk about, not caring what people think, but I want to confess something to you guys. God has just brought me through some of this. And I'm going to be super transparent with you because I want you to, I want God to use whatever happens in my life to minister to you. About a year ago, I put a video on Facebook called Jesus is Courageous, not Bruce Jenner. And within 24 hours, this thing had over 500 shares and 30,000 views. And within 48 hours, it was over 1,200 shares and about 50,000 views. And it was like, man, at the moment I was like, God's using this. And people are seeing, over 45,000 people have seen this. And it was like an accomplishment for me. And then I had a friend come up to me recently, not too long ago, and he said, listen, I know this isn't what you were trying to communicate, but how do you expect to ever minister to celebrities if you're bashing them? And so I was like, he said, you need to delete that video. And I was like, okay. And so I go to delete that video, and I had a hard time clicking the delete button. Because it was like, no, this is like a successful moment. Like this is what, and I was like, God, why am I having trouble clicking this delete button? And I felt in my spirit as I began to pray that I was holding on to this past accomplishment as a safety net because I was afraid that I would never do anything greater. I think many times we say it's only our weaknesses that hold us back from destiny. I believe a lot of times it's our accomplishments that hold us back from destiny. Listen, I don't know what you consider to be your accomplishment. How many times have you done this? You reminisce about that one day when you made everybody laugh. Or you reminisce about that one time when you did really well at something and all eyes were on you and everyone thought, hey, good job, and everyone applauded you. And you reminisce about those times, and it's like that past accomplishment. It's like, I know today was bad, but I had this. Can I encourage you in something? Let go of your past accomplishments. That sounds like something a pastor wouldn't say. Let go of your past accomplishments and move on to a new assignment that God has for you. Accomplishments are not your name. I'm telling you this now because if you haven't learned yet, you will soon learn. There's going to be a day when nobody cares about yesterday's accomplishments. There's going to be a day when nobody cares that you had the most style. Nobody cares about that one thing that you did, or that touchdown that you scored, or that strikeout that you had, or that band competition that you did so well. And nobody, I mean, I hate to discourage you, but I want to let you know there's going to be a day where people aren't wowed by who you used to be. And if your name is wrapped up in your accomplishments, you're going to feel forgotten and alone in those moments when people forget about your accomplishments. But is in the forever faithful God, the eternal God, who said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. Guess what? You'll never feel abandoned. So when I say accomplishments, you say, that's not my name. What was the first one? Let me hear you. Strength. So when I say strength, you say, that's not my name. When I say accomplishments, you say, that's not my name. And finally, number 3, when I say weaknesses, you say, that's not my name. You are not named by your weaknesses. You're not named by who you used to be. You gotta hear me here. I'm about to preach. Move on. You're not named by the mistakes of your family. That's right. Listen. I want to say that not just so your ears hear, but that your spirit hears it. You're not named by the mistakes of your family. You wouldn't believe how many people I talk to and that I converse with that come to me and they say, Pastor John, my whole family drinks, so I'm probably going to drink. Everyone in my family abuses pills, and everyone in my family smokes cigarettes, and everyone in my family does drugs, and everyone in my family drops out of high school, and no one in my family goes to college. And I want to say, stop. Did I ask you what your family is like, or did I ask you what you feel called to do? Because God's not looking at the mistakes of your father and mother to say, am I going to use him? Am I going to use her? Am I going to use it? He's not looking at that. Listen, your family tree may be screwed up, but Jesus hung on a different tree so that you could be a part of a different family. He shed his blood so that you could be a son, so that you could be a daughter, so that you could call him Father. Yeah, Dad walked out on the family, but what did your father do? He remained faithful. Yeah, Mom abandoned us, and so I might do that same thing one day. But what has your spiritual family said? Dad's always had addiction, he's always chewed tobacco, he's always smoked cigarettes. My family's always smoked weed behind closed doors. I guess but what has Jesus always done? He's faithful. He's constant. Listen to me, your standard is not what your family's mistakes are. Your standard is the faithfulness of God. Your standard is not whether your parents have been in church every week or not. Your standard is Jesus. So when I say weakness, you say, that's not my name. That's not my name. Listen, if you and I are to be named by our weaknesses, then we're going to follow the pattern of whoever went in front of us. Can I tell you about the pattern in my family when it comes to high school? Both of my parents drank, they partied, but they did a lot of, they were in and out of like parties, and they were always in trouble with their teachers. My oldest brother, in and out of jails, constantly suspended. He got a DUI, drugs. My second oldest brother didn't even finish high school. He's in and out of jail, in and out of parties, in and out of the house. There was a time where he was homeless and he didn't have anywhere to go, and so that's my family pattern, right? That's the people that have gone before me, but I knew, listen, I gave my life to Jesus when I was in the 8th grade. And so I walked into high school freshman year knowing I'm not defined or marked by what other people have done before me. I am marked by what God's done for me. Worship team, come. I'm preaching quick tonight. I feel like there's people in this place and you say, that's great that you're talking about all the great things that God wants to do through me, but you don't know who you're talking to. Pastor John, you don't know what I've done. You don't know what mistakes I've made. You don't know how many people I've been with. You don't know how many people I've slept with. Let me get real. You don't know how many people I've hurt. You don't know how much hate is actually in my heart. You don't know how many needles have been in my arm, or how many cigarettes have been pressed against my lips, or how many bottles I've tipped back. Or you don't know the secret places of me. Yeah, but Jesus does, and He is head over heels in love with you. Listen. So we've got a decision to make tonight. Because not only does your family have a past, and people in this place, you got family problems, you got things going on in your families, and things are going on and messing with you. But there's also people in this place where you have a past. And you've got things that are behind you. You've got things that messed up. And there's people in this place, though you've made that decision to follow Jesus, there's still something in the back of your mind that says, I could go back. I could go back to that old lifestyle. I could go back about, man, sin felt good for a minute. I could go back to that. And so we've got a decision to make tonight. Tonight, not tomorrow, but tonight. Do I live in my history, or do I stand in my destiny? We've got a decision. Do I live in my failures in the past, or do I stand in my faith right now? Do I live in who I used to be, in the messed up junk that I used to have, or do I stand in the joy that God has purchased for me on the cross? We got a decision to make. Can I tell you something? I want to encourage you. What you did was dumb, but you're not dumb. What you said was foolish, but you're not foolish. What you did was a mistake, but you are not a mistake. What you did was sin, but you're not a sinner. Did you know that? You're not a sinner. People say, I'm a sinner saved by grace. No, you're either a sinner or you're saved by grace. Because while we still struggle with things, God calls you righteous, God calls you holy, God calls you blessed, God calls you spotless and blameless.